So you've been researching parental controls and you've come across Bark. I mean, how couldn't you? They are everywhere. Bark has a really strong brand, and there's a reason that they are probably the top parental controls app on the market today. And I'll tell you right now, Bark is going to be a very good fit for some watching this, and for some of you, it's going to be a very bad fit depending on your parenting philosophy. More on that in a moment. So yeah, this is my review of Bark, where I got together with the team and we set out to ask a series of questions to assess really how good of a parental control app is it? How easy is it to set up? Can you use Bark to block content or only to monitor it? Is it affordable? By the end of our video, you should have a very good sense as to whether Bark is going to be a good fit for you and your family's needs or not. And if you decide that Bark is not the right app for your family at this point in time, well, you'll leave the video with a few alternatives that you can look into. As always, discounts available in the video description below, so make sure to check those out. One weird thing about Bark is that it works differently than basically every other parental control app on the market. This difference results from Bark's origin story, which is that of a father who wanted to protect his kids online without invading their privacy. So what he did is he created Bark, which is a product designed to monitor but not completely control his children's online experience. And it's this parenting philosophy of monitoring but not controlling that's baked into the app. That means that some parents love Bark and other parents don't. Because with Bark, ultimately, there is a limit to how much you can control your child's online experience. Now, starting off with signing up, because we all want a simple sign-up process, right? Like, this is the last thing that most of us want to be spending time doing, is setting up parental controls. Basically, there are two forms of Bark. One is the app form, which works on iOS, works on Android, and then you can also install it at the router level in your home if you want to. If you go for that second option of installing it on the router, that is going to cost extra. Bark also offers its own kid-friendly smartphone. I've not yet tested it, so I'm not going to be covering that in this review. But basically that phone is a Samsung with Bark software built into it. You can think of the smartphone as a more robust version of the Bark app. It's going to be more resistant to tampering, for example. But in this review, we're talking about the Bark app and we're talking about installation. How easy was this to do? First, I thought installation was going to be super easy. That turned out to not totally be the case, and I'll get into that, unfortunately. But what Bark does have going for it is it has a very clean user interface and the setup instructions are easy to understand. It's easy to get started with Bark, but the annoying thing about it is that you have to install it for each app that you want to monitor. If you want to monitor YouTube, set it up. You want to monitor Gmail, set it up. You want to monitor Hulu, set Bark up again a third time, and on and on and on. Installation with Bark on iOS devices is particularly time consuming, and I can't totally blame Bark here. Honestly, Apple doesn't make installing any parental control software easy, and certainly with Bark, there was some trouble involved. Basically, on an iPhone, each installation of Bark took between 5 to 10 minutes. That adds up really quickly, of course. So for the purposes of this review, we opted to just install 5 different apps. To get just those 5 apps installed took about 40 minutes, which is considerably longer than with other parental control software that I've tested. Those 40 minutes are 40 minutes that I could have spent mindlessly scrolling YouTube shorts about how to make Zen rock gardens, and I'll never get that time back. No. Moving into Bark's feature set here, once you have it installed, it is among the best parental control software you can get. Again, if your goal is primarily to monitor, not to block content for your children. With Bark, you can very easily set up rules and routines, and this will help you to manage screen time while your children are in school and while they're at home. So you might say, for instance, that Hulu is allowed, but only after 4 p.m., but Gmail is allowed at all times. Unfortunately, you cannot set a rule that says that Logan Paul videos can be watched, but only on permanent mute. I tried, and not possible with Bark, sadly. Of course, you can also use Bark to block entire apps, entire websites. No problem there, but there's a bit of a problem when it comes to filtering content within a particular app or website. When testing Bark, one of our testers found that an objectionable video did make it through and their child was able to watch it on YouTube, and they just received a notification after the fact, but the video itself was not blocked. If you want search or browsing history, Bark's not going to be the best parental controls for you because they just don't give you that data. Again, this is really in line with their philosophy of being a monitor more than a controller of your child's internet experience. Additionally, Bark is pretty easy to get around. All a tween or a teen would need to do is install a privacy-focused browser like Brave, and then essentially they could access the open internet. Bark is a really good, sophisticated monitor. It monitored everything from picture send, social media messages, emails, more reliably, in fact, than most other parental control software that we tested. Again, remember, Bark is not going to give you explicit insight into what exactly your child said. It's rather going to flag any conversations that have negative sentiment, so it gives you the sentiment analysis. Is the conversation positive? Is it negative? And the algorithm will indicate to you whether something is of concern. But again, it's not going to tell you explicitly what that thing is. Moving into geolocation tools here, yes, Bark does offer them. Basically, you can use Bark to set up alerts for when your child arrives at a predetermined destination, so say school or home. And you can request that your child checks in at certain points during the day, but whether they do or not, that's going to be left up to the child. I've tested Bark, our research team has tested Bark, and after spending really dozens of hours with the app, I think it's safe to say the consensus among us is that it is a good fit for those parents of you watching this who have more relaxed parenting philosophy, probably have older children. If you jive with that philosophy and you like that heightened and independence that Bark offers your children, then it's definitely worth considering. Check the video description below for discounts. For those of you with younger children, personally, I probably go with Aura, also known as Circle parental controls, just because of the level of detail that it provides and the blocking capabilities that it has that Bark doesn't. Another option for parents looking for greater control over their children's internet usage would be Qustodio. So those would be my recommendations for those of you with younger kids. Qustodio and then Aura. Check the video description below for exclusive discounts for Home Security Heroes viewers. And here on the screen, I'll flash pricing so that you can see exactly how Bark compares with other parental control software on the market. Overall, I like Bark. I like the philosophy behind it, but I do wish it offered me a little more control when it came to designing the experience that I'd want my children to have on the internet. Again, it's just really going to come down to whether that philosophy jives with you or not, and whether you want to have a greater deal of control over your child's internet usage. Personally, for me, for now, I'm sticking with Aura, i.e. Circle parental controls, but I'll revisit Bark in about 3-4 months and we'll see what the updated product looks like. Check out the video description for discounted links, and in the meantime, if you want to see how Bark compares against all of the other major parental controls options on the market, go ahead, watch this video here that's going to autoplay next, and I'll see you in that one. Cheers.